Welcome, everybody. John Zager, johnzager.com. How is everyone? Hope you're having a good day. Let's see, we're going to do a YouTube video right now on what I've been talking about in my blog today. And I also did a podcast on the same thing. And I'm just trying to find, excuse me, I'm just trying to find different angles to present this information so that it's more understandable. It kind of relates to a lot of different things that we do in neuroscience, and hopefully I'll be able to explain that as we get going on a little bit further. So just making sure everything's okay here with the camera, which is my iPhone. So the topic is, are you feeling in your life some resistance? Are you finding as you go through your daily activities, doing the things you do, going to work, being with your family, shopping, whatever, are you realizing that the way you go about things is not smooth? There isn't a real flow to it. There's sort of obstacles in the road. Resistance, right? You have a difficulty understanding certain concepts of things, views that people have, opinions that people have. It just isn't balanced to where it doesn't create stress in your life, but rather it does create stress in your life. And why are you having that resistance? And where are those obstacles coming from? And are they things you can change? And if so, how do you go about changing them? So that's kind of some of the stuff I'm trying to answer today. Before we get started, by all means, go to my channel, which you're watching right now, John Zager, on YouTube, and hit the subscribe button. That really, really helps me out a whole bunch. Follow, and then the little bell thing so that you can get notified when I'm having other YouTube videos, which are going to be every day or two, kind of idea. And we're going to talk about a bunch of good topics, but it really helps me a whole lot if we can get this stuff sent out into the YouTube universe. So you can hit the share button as well, and that gets it to a lot of other people, and hopefully that'll increase our numbers, the amount of viewers we have, and the amount of subscribers we have. I can't tell you, I cannot begin to tell you how important that is, and I'm so appreciative of you doing the very best you can to do those things I just mentioned. But here's the part with the resistance, right? We all know, and we've been through this discussion in the past quite a bit, that those are beliefs that you were given when you were a little person, between your mom's third trimester and the time you turned about 7, or a little younger than that, maybe at the end of 6. And you observed, for instance, your mom and dad, aunts, uncles, grandparents, other adults in your life at the time, and you observed them doing things that you either decided or took upon yourself to say, I'm in agreement with that, or I'm not in agreement with that. They modeled behavior of different sorts, and excuse me, and you either agreed or disagreed with that as a little person, because your brain waves at that time were in a state of hypnosis with your eyes open, right? So, so everything that was coming at you was being absorbed, and they were belief systems that were given to you from all these various adults that may or may not have worked for them either. Maybe they struggled. Maybe they had resistance. Maybe they were perfectly good belief systems that they agreed with, and their lives were good and everything was happy, happy, happy. I don't know. But for you, as you continued to get older and into adulthood, you were programmed back then to go ahead and use all these beliefs. And that's your subconscious, right? That's your subconscious. And because you use your subconscious, I'm getting over a cold, you guys. I'm really sorry about that. 95% of your day, 95% of your day is in your subconscious, and the other 5% is your conscious. That's you making decisions and that kind of thing. So you're basically living off of the programs that these people gave to you, instilled in you, and you decided to believe that that was going to be how it is for you. That's how life is for you, right? So as you got older, you found out maybe there was no resistance whatsoever. And what all these adults were providing for you, giving you information on, explaining things, their beliefs and their perceptions, and you decided to go with it. And as you got older, as I said, into adulthood, it worked out fine for you. There's no resistance, there's no obstacles. It's like what they were teaching, so to speak, was fine with you and is fine with you. But what about the majority of people live in a state of stress, right? They say 70%, but it's probably more like 90% of people live in a state of stress. Bad time to have a hoarse voice, huh? I should have thought of that before I started today. My apologies again. So at any rate, you're living off of old belief systems that may be limiting in your life. In other words, you don't agree with them. You think different. That's not how I want to do that. That's not how I want to live my life. That's not the view I have of that situation or circumstance or person or interaction. That's called resistance, right? You run into resistance, obstacles that you're not in agreement with. Those are the limiting belief systems you got when you were young. So you get on to be older and that kind of thing, and all of a sudden they become more stressful and more difficult for you to deal with. And what do you do with that? There's a lot of stuff out on the internet and in publication everywhere anymore about how you deal with limiting belief systems. My background, as you all know, is like 43 plus years in clinical psychology, neuroscience. So certainly I do consultation. I do education and training with people individually or in groups or businesses or whatever around limiting belief systems that you have and how you can get rid of those and put in new positive belief systems that are more agreeable with the way your thinking is. Pretty simple kind of idea, right? And the science behind that is just that, your brain is composed of all kinds of neurons, and you get these neuron clusters, and they are the programs that you're living by from the stuff you got when you were a kid. And as you realize that it doesn't apply to you today, and you need to prune those apart, take all those neuron connections and take them apart so that you don't work off of that program, and you need to put new neuron connections together that are more satisfying for the way you think, feel, and act, right? And that's what I do. There's people everywhere that do this kind of work. Some are more understanding, some use older methods to attempt that kind of stuff. Here's my caveat. My caveat is I don't believe, in the old days, psychology, psychotherapists, would take you down the path of where you would have to vent your emotions of traumas and just all kinds of ugly stuff that you had to go through as a child growing up. And I even did that years and years and years ago. And I come to find out I didn't like that. There's no reason to make people go back and re-traumatize them, relive that stuff. And when neuroscience came into the picture more recently, all of that stuff that hindered you or were traumatic times in your life could all now be dealt with through science. And you didn't have to bring them all back up. You just needed to understand how the dots are connected. That's pretty clear, right? So psychology is changing. I don't encourage you to go to plain old psychology people that still do that work. I think, by all means, if you want to, go. But if you can at all avoid reliving the trauma, look for people who lean a little more heavily towards neuroscience and psychology mix. And I think that's the direction you want to go. You'll be able to go back, look at some of those old limiting beliefs that may be hurtful or harmful or emotionally tough for you to experience, and learn to see how the dots are connected, and from a perspective where you're not reliving the actual thing. And likewise, you can use that same person to learn how to put new positive belief systems and perceptions about how you choose to live your life, back into your head, your neurons, and get those connected so that they become hardwired and you don't have as much resistance as you had previously. That makes sense? So, I guess two examples. I'll give two examples. I gave these two on something else today. I can't remember. But one of them is relationships. And maybe the way it was explained to you or modeled to you, the relationship issues were a problem for the people you were watching as a little kid. Maybe your mom and dad, I don't know. And you took that forward. And that's how you conducted yourself in relationships, and therefore relationships just continued to have wall after wall after wall, and a lot of trauma and a lot of issues that were and are unresolved, right? And by being able to identify that resistance, you've identified the limiting belief, and that's where you need to prune those neurons apart and put back in new positive, healthier beliefs and perceptions regarding relationships. Two is money. That's another example. By all means, money is a main issue, and it probably was back then for, I don't know, maybe your mom and dad, I don't know. And the way that they conducted themselves around that issue, you may have decided to bring that forward and that's how you were going to deal with money issues in your life. It ended up being a lot of resistance, and therefore that's a limiting belief system that you certainly want to prune apart and change it to a current state of thinking, belief, and perceptions that were and that are healthier than what you had growing up and watching. So, the topic today is kind of just around resistance that we run into in life, and why does that occur and where does it come from? Well, that's where it comes from, and why does it occur is the big thing. You take two siblings, in the same family, same mom and dad, bio, I don't know, brother and sister or whatever, and one of them is watching the show just like you are, and they grow up and have a terrible, rough time with relationships or money or disease or sickness or ill health based on they believed what they saw from mom and dad. And maybe their life turns out to be very uncomfortable. Maybe they don't live a long, healthy life. The other sib, on the other hand, he or she, it doesn't matter which, says to themselves, boy, that was ugly watching that as a little kid. I'm not bringing that forward. I'm not ever going to be like that. Whoever, let's say it was your mom and dad that were having difficulties in that area. You're basically saying, I'm not buying it. I'm not in agreement with that. I'm not on board with that. And when I get older and need to apply beliefs that I have about, I don't know, relationships, money, disease, sickness, ill health, whatever it happens to be, you're going to do it different than the way they were doing it and modeling it to you. Therefore, it turns out to be comfortable. There's no resistance. There's no obstacles. And you go on to live a pretty happy and healthy life into your old age. And two kids can be in the same household, and the results can be 180 degrees different with each one of them, based on if you buy into the belief systems or not. That make sense? I got my red Solo cup here, everybody. See that? This is tea. What I do is I mix turmeric root, right? I take about 3 nice pieces of turmeric root, about this big, cut them in half, put them in the pan with the boiling water, and then I take 3 pieces of ginger root, cut it in half, put them in the water, and then I take a green tea bag and put that in the water. Get it all to boil, let it steep for 5 minutes or so, and this has got ice in it, so I let it cool down enough to where I could get the ice into it. And the health benefits to this tea are phenomenal. It was kind of a sidebar. Sorry if I bothered you with that. But do it. Practice having that turmeric, ginger, green tea mix, and you'll just feel a whole lot better, a lot more energy. Takes away all the inflammation, takes away the aches and pains as you get older. All kinds of nice things happen. But it's a good drink. It tastes good too. So anyway, that's kind of the conversation today. It applies, and we're going to be talking about this in the next few days or so. I've been listening to a bunch of people on YouTube, and they're like hell bent on this topic of how to manifest money. Wow. Man, are they into that? I mean, every single thing, every YouTube video is another version of how to manifest. Well, here's the bottom line on that, you guys. I mean, by all means, go listen to them, and they're really nice people. I mean, I do listen to them myself just to hear the direction that they're coming from. But it's belief systems. It's the same thing. When you were little, you were exposed to the adults talking about people that were rich, wealthy, and those people that were poor and lived in lack. And you either bought one or the other of the belief systems, and that became your perception of those people as you grew up. As a result, let's just say you ended up living in lack. You were not a multimillionaire, and you had to work a few different jobs, and that has to do with trying to change matter with matter as opposed to trying to use energy to change matter, and your belief systems creep in there and they cause resistance and clutter and whatnot into how you can obtain money in your life. And you need to prune those neuron connections, clusters apart. It's just called Hebb's Law. It's a guy who came up with the idea. And then put new belief systems in that are supportive of you being allowed to make money, be prosperous, and have an abundant life. So what we just talked about today, the first, 20 minutes, also fits into manifesting various things. And the example I just gave was money, or living in abundance rather than lack. And in the next few days, we'll go back and take that one apart and talk about it a little bit more. So anyway, there you go. I don't want to run these really, really long. In the past, I used to, and I'm not sure if that works real well. My YouTube videos, my podcasts, and my blogs are all available on Facebook everywhere, LinkedIn, Twitter. Some of the stuff is on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Google Tunes, Spotify, Spreaker.com. You can also, so you can find me everywhere is what I'm basically saying. So if you like what you're hearing, and I hope you do, it's informative, by all means, hit that subscribe button, the like button, share it with other people out there, kind of idea, and the follow button too. Any of that kind of stuff, depending on what you're doing and what you're listening to. The blogs are really good. I've been doing those blogs for maybe 3-4 years, almost every day, and now I've kind of cut back a little bit on that. But the blogs are really good because it's just a couple, 2-3 paragraphs in length explaining, what I just talked about now, but maybe in a different frame of mind on how you might be able to connect the dots. By all means, go listen to them, go look them up. And the podcasts are me just talking without seeing me. So I try to take a different angle on the podcasts and say the same thing, but again, trying to connect the dots in a different fashion so that you get to hear that stuff. You can get a hold of me a couple different ways, a lot of different ways. My website is johnzegar.com, JOHNZEGAR.com. Go there, read whatever you want. It's been around for a while. I don't have anything free there. Some of these other guys have free stuff that they hand out. I don't. But by all means, go there. You can leave some comments. You can hopefully get a little interactive with that. And if you want to give me some direction on what you might want to hear, please do so. You can also email me, jzegar@gmail.com. jzegar@gmail.com. Go ahead and track me down that way. I guess I kind of moved away from the camera, didn't I? I'm sorry. So those are a couple ways you can find me. My phone number is out there all over the internet. You can call me, text me, whatever. The podcasts are live, and if you find the phone number, I'm not going to give it out right now, but it's easy to find on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter. I think it's pretty easy to find there. And you can call in. I mean, I do my podcasts early in the morning, and I'll try to get an exact time for everybody. So if you want to dial the phone and say, "Hey, John, I got a question for you," if there's any way I can answer the question or help you out, I'm happy to do that. So welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Boy, I love doing this stuff. I think about it all the time. And hopefully I'll get better and better. I need your feedback. I need your feedback on what you want to hear. And again, excuse me, I'm trying to focus it or keep it into the neuroscience category, psychology, neuroscience, and just how you can, because that's my background. That's what I've done my whole entire life. And there's everything that we do, say, or how we act is somehow related to, neuroscience and psychology. And if you have an idea, let me know. Let me know. I can go put it together and get a presentation for you, a little one. Now this one here, we ended up going almost 30 minutes, and gosh darn, I didn't want to do that. But so I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much. So God bless everybody. Take care of one another, and I look forward to talking to you all again real soon. Thanks a lot. See you. Bye.